Assalamu alaikum. Today I am going to be talking about my end of year financial checklist for Muslims in 2024. Now, the end of the year is a great time to check my finances and see how I've been going along, and I want to keep it super simple. So yeah, just want to say welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Now, one of the key things for me is, and this is what really helped, was check my spending in terms of percentages. So what percentage of my income is spent on maybe entertainment and fun things, what percentage is spent on saving and investing. I kind of break it down like that, try and keep it really simple. And what really helps me massively is having a separate bank account that automatically categorizes things for me. So for all my everyday spending, I use Monzo. It categorizes it for me really simply, and then I kind of just copy the values over into a spreadsheet. Now, the first section is fundamental costs. So these are things like your rent, your groceries, your mortgage, your internet, your transport, things that you can't really kind of deviate from or change too much. And ideally, I want that to be about 50% of my income, but the lower the better, and the more I can kind of reduce it, that's even better as well. Or potentially even, I might be able to earn more by other ways. And number two is flexible costs. So these are costs that you can kind of go up and down. They include your things that are like fun for you as well. So for example, a big thing for us is eating out. Now Monzo did this thing where they do like the year unwraps. So it's a bit like this Spotify thing. And it showed that, the place that I ate in the most was Nonstop, which I really love, and, really good prices as well. And also I spent a lot of money shopping on Amazon as well. But I think most of that was kind of necessary stuff that I needed. And also I spent money on holidays as well. And, want to keep about 30% of my income around here. But obviously the less I can do, the better. And the next section, which is future costs. So this is putting money into savings and investments and making sure that I am actually saving. And, I try to have about 20% of my income doing that. And this is like a really good video. I kind of learned. Really like how this was structured. There's a video by Nisja, which I will kind of make sure to link in the description. Definitely check that out as well. She's got some useful stuff in there. And then the next thing I would say is check my emergency fund. So, I've had to change my toilet recently. We had a problem with our car, so we had to kind of really dip into our emergencies fund. So just make sure that's set up. If that's not set up properly, then set it up. And the next thing is make sure I've got enough in there. So I'm trying to have about at least 6 months worth of expenses. So if something happens, I'm kind of covered. So I'm thinking we're between about 3 to 4K a month is how much we spend on our expenditure. So, I want to have probably about 18K saved up, which is quite a bit. And I'm nowhere near that at the moment. So I need to kind of really build it up a bit more, because I have lost my job before. I got made redundant. And, fortunately I did have savings back then, but I can imagine how worrying it could be, if that happens. And I didn't have that sort of savings. And definitely if you're someone that's kind of self-employed, I think it's definitely recommended to have kind of even more, potentially 6, 9, 12 months worth of income. And I would actually at one stage like to have 1 year's worth of income sort of saved, so 1 year's worth of expenses, not actual income, so that that I'm covered if anything did happen. And also, I sort of make adjustments. So, if I need to top up my emergency fund, which I do need to at the moment, then throughout the year, I need to kind of make sure it is topped up. And, me and my wife are kind of working together to try and top up that emergency fund. The next thing I would say is look at debt. So fortunately, me and my wife are kind of blessed. We don't have any sort of big debt at the moment. And we've kind of been quite careful recently. We did have a big debt with our credit card before. It was about 5K in debt just on regular everyday shopping. I didn't even know what we spent that money on. And, but if I did have that, this is an area that I would definitely kind of look into and make sure I kind of face it straight away. And there's a method called the debt snowball method, which I really like, which Dave Ramsey kind of talks about, who's this personal finance sort of guru, who's got sort of Christian values. I really like the way he kind of thinks about stuff. And just by spending off the smallest debts first, kind of gives you that psychological mental sort of boost that you can actually, get rid of your debt. The other method is a debt avalanche method as well, which is where you pay off the biggest one first as well. So you can use either one, whichever one sort of works. But definitely the big thing to know, and this is one of the things I've learned definitely, is that debt is the biggest wealth destroyer. If you're paying money into debt, then you're not building wealth. So it's very important to know that. And the next thing I would move on to, make sure that, I'm using tax efficient accounts for savings and investments. That in the UK, we're talking about ISAs. So, a lifetime ISA, stocks and shares ISA, even like you can get cash ISAs, like halal ones as well. And the great thing about that is your money grows without tax. So if you're saving money, you want to put it into this, but this is not your emergency fund money. This is the extra money that you're putting into investments and things like that. And then another thing is that when you do have money in these investment accounts, make sure it's actually being invested. I've had money that I put into an ISA and it was just sitting there and just doing nothing. So I need to make sure if I put money into an ISA that I'm actually investing. And what I generally do is just put it into an Islamic index fund and just kind of forget about it. The next thing I want to talk about is automating my finances, also making sure my savings, my investments, all of that is kind of all set up. And generally, like, I use AJ Bell, so I just go into AJ Bell, make sure my deposits and everything are happening. I also in my main bank account as well. So I just make sure money is automatically moved to my savings or what have you. And so I just kind of just make sure all of that's kind of set up. Just throughout the year, things can go a bit crazy. And then the next thing is my pension as well. So this is like, I'm trying to kind of manage all my pensions together, kind of grouping them all up together. And at the moment, that's something that's, I've managed to kind of bring them all together, and I've kind of moving them all to AJ Bell takes a bit of time. You've got to do all the paperwork, this, that, and the other. So I'm kind of in the process of doing that. And I'm just kind of making sure, thinking about pensions as well, learning about pensions, how much money do I need as well. So I'm kind of doing all of that sort of stuff. But the amazing thing is it feels great. Just to make a start, just feels really, really good. And just try and keep it as simple as possible. I think sometimes what happened before is I thought it would make me really feel bad about how much money I have and things like that. But just being more aware and conscious of where I'm spending my money, how I'm saving my money, investing my money makes a massive impact. I think as Muslims as well, this is something we need to be talking much more about. This should be spoken like in the mosque, spoken about everywhere. What are we doing with our money? Do we have enough money? Are we saving up for pensions? Things like that. And just having that education out there. And I think that generally it's like a problem, financial education, but even more so I think in the Muslim kind of community, especially because we need to make sure we use products that are, aligned with our values as being Muslims. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. Assalamu alaikum.